And to anybody who appreciates the idea of holding government agents accountable, you really should check out freekeene.com. In fact, I'll be posting here in a little bit, sometime tonight, the latest on the Robin Hood case. Yesterday, I posted the story about the Robin Hooders, the ACLU, filing an amicus brief. For those of you who are new to the show, Centurion, how would you describe Robin Hooding? I mean, you've done it a little bit here and there.
I did it once, one Saturday of last year, and it ended up being a cop block thing. That's when I caught that Massachusetts chief of police with his government vehicle shopping with his wife, using a government vehicle. That was posted on Keene Cop Block as well. But that kind of drew me away from the Robin Hooding. But I never heard about it before that. And to go out to, because there was some people saying they were going to call the police on them and stuff that particular week. So I figured I'd go out and be the cop block presence for them.
So it's the idea of Robin Hooding is to stop people from getting parking tickets, to feed expired meters.
Yeah, they gave me a bunch of dimes, and I went ahead and started putting stuff in before the meter maids got there or the parking enforcement.
Did you threaten any of the meter maids while you were out there?
No.
Did you harass? Did you intimidate?
No, I did not.
Well, that's what they were arguing. The city government here in Keene filed lawsuit against some of us. They didn't include you, Centurion.
Even though I wanted to.
Right, you actually filed a motion. I don't know how much attention this got in the case. I think I wrote about it at freekeene.com.
One other person did. Yes.
Right. Wasn't it you and Jay Freeville?
Yes.
Who did it? Yeah. You and Jay Freeville filed motions to intervene, I think was the term, where basically you were demanding to be added as a
I put coins in meters. What's up?
Well, my thing was because Pete Ayre said, his argument for being dismissed from the case was he's not a Robin Hood and he never really
right. He said he never filled any meters.
Exactly, and
they kept him on.
Their argument was this is a collective conspiracy against the local government.
Their argument was literally that because Pete, the founder of copblock.org, because he had gotten on a radio once, apparently, as one of the parking enforcers was driving down Main Street, because Pete picked up a two-way radio, which a lot of the activists have here in Keene, and he transmitted the location of the, we got the meter maid going south on Main Street or something like that.
Yeah.
Because he transmitted some sort of an assistive statement. Therefore, he was a Robin Hooder, and he needs to be stopped along with the rest of us.
And it didn't make sense to me, the dismissal or the judge denied my request.
Right. Didn't make sense at all.
Because their defense counsel, their counsel for the city said, we can't have him because he's not collectively in the group. But their argument to keep Pete in was their argument of being collectively with the grou's.
Yeah,
so
ridiculous.
It was like a contradictory.
Sure.
Well, I've never heard of somebody trying to get criminally charged either. That's it's an amazing.
It wasn't
story.
Criminal charges, Mark. This is a civil case.
Oh, it's a civil case.
Civil case that was brought against 6 alleged members of the Robin Hooding squad. And
please sue me too.
Yes. Which would have been fun, because had the judge actually allowed you to come on to the case, you would have taken your own tact. Because what happened was, when the Robin Hood case started up, Pete Ayre decided he didn't want to have John Meyer represent him in court. So the case became John Meyer representing 5 of the 6 people, including me, who had been charged, and then Pete was still representing himself. So during the trial, it was like a dream team kind of thing. You had John Meyer going up there, who was our attorney, this like free speech award-winning attorney. This guy is just awesome at what he does. You had John Meyer hammering him with his legal questions, and then Pete would come up and just hammer him with the truth.
They stereotyped Pete all the way. They were not ready for how smart he was. They got stonewalled by him. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, that video
watch.
was so good. The video of Pete on the stand from the hearing in the Robin Hood, I thought was so good. I clipped it out because this Robin Hood hearing last year was 3 full days of court, or 3 nearly full days of court, and so Pete's 1 hour on the stand or whatever was just so
They were not
golden.
ready for him. They were not ready.
That
for
attorney,
him.
the city's attorney, did not know who they were dealing with. They hadn't done any research, obviously, on Pete Ayre, and Pete schooled him on the ideas of voluntarism and freedom, and it was just a wonderful a podium.
I was just amazed on that first question. Are you cop block?
Right.
Cop Block's a website.
Yeah. So I don't even know.
He should. I don't know what this attorney's website is, but they're one of the highest paid attorneys in the state that the city of Keene is paid for. You should have asked him, are you, whatever the name of his website is?
Are you City of Keene?
Exactly. Well, what is the city of Keene anyway? Except for some sort of legal fiction. The city of Keene's just an idea. There are men and women who align themselves with the city of Keene, who call themselves the city of Keene.
Mostly they're just into other people's business and willing to use, their little forces of minions against them.
The city of Keene's just a gang name like the Bloods or the Crips or the Latin Kings. I mean, that's what the city of Keene is, or the city of Philadelphia or wherever.
I'm offended. I'm offended to be part of a city that acts the way this city has acted.
Well, there's no evidence you're part of the city. I mean, did you ever work for them?
No, I'm not saying being part, but being in.
Well, that's
or
the
living
thing.
in, or.
So Mark Stevens would point out, I think, and his website's that's Mark with a C, markstevens.net. I was actually just talking to him today. But he would point out, well, when people say things like the city or the state, they don't always mean, or they're not transmitting the meaning that they're actually saying. And let me see if I can better explain that. The state, when you say you're in the city, what you mean is you're in a plot of land that people commonly call Keene. You're not in
That's
the
too
political...
long to explain when you're talking to someone.
Right, I mean, it's right, exactly.
Yeah, I still say Keene.
But at the same time, when you say you're in the city, that could also mean you're in the part of the body, you are the body politic of this political organization known as the city.
Right. The government of the city of this area called Keene, the people that claim to be the governing body, purposely attempt to just sort of enshroud these things together,
using the terms interchangeably.
Right.
Yeah.
We've got this little force field, and when you cross this line, we have what we call jurisdiction. And by that we mean we will do whatever the hell we want to do to you.
Yeah.
And then you can try to use our little court system that we set up and that is clearly bends to our will in many cases. Well, you can try to use that to be fair, but
and on top of
joke's
that,
on you.
On top of that, they're not very good at it. They're
really
failing bad. They're failing really bad.
Let me tell you, I'm going to post up here. I already posted up the ACLU's amicus brief in the Robin Hood case, and I'll probably here during the next news break, I'll put up our attorney, John Meyer, this awesome free speech attorney, where he's in 32 pages just excoriates the city's position and just owns them. He even likens them to the Soviet Russians, basically, and it's just a lot of fun. I mean, as far as legalese and legal paperwork is concerned,
not many of them are much fun, but
this one was pretty fun in parts to read. So I'll put all that up over at freekeene.com. You can get the latest on the case.
And they've lost everything in this case, right? Like every time
it's never even gone to trial. I mean,
well, they keep trying to bring it to trial, and they won't let them bring it to trial.
I can't wait to see the 91A on how much they spent.
That's a Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah, and that number's still going up. They're taking it to the Supreme Court of New Hampshire to be able to simply take you to court.
And maybe they'll even go beyond that. Maybe they'll even go to the Supreme Court of the United States.
And just remember,
it's not their money.
They're doing it against activism, free speech, and freedom of expression, freedom of the press.
People putting coins in meters.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Well, yeah, and they want to put a stop to that. And
it's really not even going on as much as it used to, right?
No, there are people out every single day.
Are there? Okay.
Yeah, I think some folks were out today and yesterday and so on and so forth. Yeah, it's a daily occurrence here in Keene, New Hampshire. It's as heavy, I think, as it's ever been. At least that's my impression of it. I'm not in charge of it as much as a lot of people would like to believe I am.
The lawsuit's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, certainly. And that's why they lost at the Superior Court level.
To say that a public official can't be watched by the public.
Can't be spoken to within a 50-foot radius, cannot be recorded within a 50-foot radius. This is what some of the restrictions they were asking for originally. And they want money because some of their employees have considered quitting their jobs. That suggests that you can't even suggest to anybody in the government that they quit their jobs.
Even in their job description, it says they're up to public scrutiny.
Yeah, we'll come back with more. And we've been talking about the Robin Hood, the latest in the Robin Hood case. Saga has been going on for more than a year now, since last year when the folks calling themselves the City of Keene filed a civil suit against myself and 5 other activists, including...
Filed it against me.
Okay. Filed it against me and 5
I filed
other
against myself. If you're referring to yourself two
that
times
would be
in a
silly.
sentence, I'm just showing you how to use myself in a sentence.
Gotcha. So me and the rest of those folks were hit with this civil suit.
I was hit with a civil suit.
Yeah, would you say I and the rest of those folks? That sounds a little awkward.
The rest of those folks and I were hit with a civil suit.
All of us?
Ah, there you go. Look, I just went to gifted school. All right, can you cut me a break here?
Yeah, no. No.
But English was set up by statists too, weren't they?
Right. You evil people using your English rules on me.
So we were sued. How about that? We were sued. Those of us who were Robin Hooders. Some of us who were Robin Hooders, because Centurion, you were one of them, and they didn't sue you. In fact, you tried to get added to the case. They didn't want to have any of that, so they wouldn't let that happen. But the case was lost by the city. They failed. The folks who are running the courts, or the judge in this case, actually ruled on the side of freedom, which is always nice to see. Every now and then the court system will get it right, and in the case of the Robin Hood case, they did. Of course, city immediately appealed, because it's not like they're spending their own money.
They don't
like
it when the courts get it right.
They spent $20,000 taxpayer dollars at least on the first case.
Maybe more.
Right. They wouldn't give an exact number of how much they'd spent, but they did firm up the number of $20,000 at a minimum on the first case. So I suspect they're spending another 20 or 30 on the Supreme Court part of this. That's just a guess on my part. And so they're going to the New Hampshire Supreme Court. The city attorneys filed their but they filed their memo or their brief or whatever you want to call it about a month or two ago. And now after that happens, they give the other side time to respond to that. And so now the other side, in the form of John Meyer, and an award-winning free speech attorney, has stepped up to file his brief, and I've just posted that over at freekeene.com. I take some excerpts out. One of my favorites is this one, quote, "And the claim that the public employees have the, quote, right to be left alone and the right to peace and tranquility while acting as government officials," unquote, which is what the city attorneys claimed in their brief, saying that these parking enforcers have a right to be left alone and a right to peace and tranquility, even though, as was pointed out, I think, Centurion, you pointed this out, that in their job description, it says that they have to endure verbal and mental harassment. And now maybe
scrutiny.
No, it wasn't harassment. Verbal and mental, was it duress? Something. Yeah. Anyway, they have to deal with people telling them off. They have to deal
public
with
scrutiny.
Right. Negative public scrutiny as well.
Right. People don't like getting tickets, and this is the thing about the organizations like the city. They're pretty. It's pretty unusual that you would hand out a ticket to your customer, a fine to your customer for certain behavior. Certainly, some businesses do it in some circumstances, but the city should be in the business of facilitating business downtown, and handing out tickets for staying too long at a restaurant or a business is a really terrible way to do business, especially when you're sort of looking at, hey, there's empty parking spaces either side of this guy. Do we really need to give a fine for taking up a parking space when there's empty parking spaces around?
So anyway, the point he's making here is, so you got the city guys claiming that they have a right to be left alone and a right to peace and tranquility while acting as government officials. And Meyer points out that has no application, that claim has no application to any political or legal system short of the former Soviet Union. I mean, he just goes after him with this. You can see the whole 32-page filing, as well as the 40-plus page ACLU filing on the side of the Robin Hooders. Both of those articles are up right now at freekeene.com. We go to Eric Freerock from Cop Block Radio. Eric, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, when Centurion told me that he was going to be on, I just had to tune in live because I thought it would be hilarious. So, and Mark talking about how businesses will sometimes implement fines. Usually, it's because of a contractual obligation, though.
Right.
I have not signed a contract with the city, so therefore I'm not obligated to your fines or whatnot. If it's two businesses are doing business with each other and one of them, breaks a rule of the contract, then there could be consequences already in the contract. Easy example.
I had a dentist agreement recently that I signed that said that if I fail to cancel an appointment, if I've got an appointment and I have to cancel it, if I fail to cancel it, if I fail to give them 48 hours notice, they'll let me get away with it with I think once, and then after that, if I do it again or like a second time or something, or third time, anyway, after a certain number of times, they get fed up and they say, look, from now on, if you want to schedule an appointment, you'll need to give us a $50 refundable deposit. and if you miss the appointment, we're going to keep the $50. And it was all laid right out there. And I put my name on that line. That's no problem. I can handle that responsibility. But that's the difference between operating under an agreement and the government, which of course makes up rules arbitrarily and then says, "Well, you better do what we say, or we're going to force you to do it, or we're going to put you in a cage."
And the funniest thing about the whole trial was the city's attorneys. It was like amateur hour. It isn't like the first rule of asking questions is to never ask a question you don't already know the answer to. And they were asking questions of their own witnesses, of the parking enforcers, that they didn't even know the answer to. And it was really hilarious when he was asking Linda questions. And
Linda's one of the parking enforcers.
Yeah, one of the parking enforcers questions. And she had no idea what he was talking about. It's like, didn't you do witness prep with this person?
Right.
Haven't you already discussed what you're going to talk about?
They did seem to be a little unprepared.
You would think he would do the witness prep because that's just more billable hours. I mean, they want to do stuff like that, don't they? I mean, wouldn't they want to do depositions and things like that?
Everything I've heard from lawyers is like, whatever. People got to pay us. So, we do whatever we want.
Eric, anything else you want to share tonight?
No, that's it for now.
Hey, thanks for the call. Cop Block Radio.
Peace, Eric.
That's something you can check out. Hey, what's the URL for Cop Block Radio these days?
copblock.org/podcast.
All right, very good. And it's also heard live Wednesday nights after Free Talk Live on LRN.FM. Thanks, Eric.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.